First of all, we use on the academic side, there's multiple parts, but one element is, are they actually learning academics in our schools?
Yep.
And we are the best performing academic school in the country. Every single class we have is top 1%. And so in every grade, every subject, no school can say that. And here's why though. Here's what you should actually do if you're a parent. We have known for 40 years that kids could learn 2, 5, 10 times faster. There's a whole field called learning science that has been studied for decades. Papers came out when I was in high school, right, about how we could radically transform education and allow kids to learn 10 times faster. But they all started with, this will not work with the standard teacher in front of a classroom model. And so there was no way to solve it, right? Because economically, you couldn't give everybody an individualized tutor. You couldn't go master. You couldn't implement some of these learning science concepts. And one of the things that has changed, right? And our second, when we talk about if we're going to redo education for the next decade, our second principle is kids need to learn 10 times faster, right? We need to allow them to learn 10 times faster, because sitting in class for 6 hours a day in homework is not going to prepare them for the world that's coming. And so that was part of why I got involved 3 years ago, was I had to go build a learning engine that teaches kids 10 times faster. And, all these learning science papers, every parent can go read them and understand it's possible. We took AI, Gen AI, combined with learning science to build this engine. So if you come to our schools, you sit down at this learning science-based AI tutor that's not like ChatGPT. It's different, that you'll have to experience it to understand it, but it's going to teach the kids 10 times faster. So in 2 hours a day, they sit down for 2 hours, they learn more than twice as much as if they sat in class. And so they're learning so fast, it doesn't matter where they come in. They can come in, top 25%, bottom 25%. They are going to get to top 1% longer they're in the system, right? Because they just keep learning twice as fast as anybody else and doing it in only 2 hours a day. On the academic side, kids can crush it. Like, if I could wave a magic wand to fix things, if parents could understand a couple things. One, your kid should love school. You can't say you should have a crappy 12 years. No employer would say, come work for me.
And hate it.
And it's going to suck for 12 years. Like when we talk about love of school, it's just so obvious in every other part of our life. We would be like, that's ridiculous. And yet, what employer, it's going to be terrible. But that same parent who's running a company with, thousands of employees, when they look at kids, they're like, yeah, you should a decade. It's terrible. You should hate it, right? It's good for you. And that's why all these kids are unhappy, right? And that's why they're not engaged. And that's why middle school and all these mental health issues. It's because we've designed a system that bores the crap out of them. We hope they hate it. And then we're like, let's put stress on them. And you do all that stuff. And you're like, God, that doesn't work out that well, right? I mean, it really is insane, like the system that we've designed. And so going back, you're like, yes, you should love it. So parents need to understand that. That's critical. And who at the end of the day wants to look at their kid and be like, I want you to hate this. The second is, though, you can crush your academics in 2 hours a day. That's it. That's all you need. So all of us who went through, because all we know, 6 hours a day at homework, you want to do better, you have to, all this crazy amount of time, that's not required. 2 hours a day, you'll crush it.
And how many students have you taken through this? So over the last 3 years, you have a lot of data to back this idea.
No, so we publish our data, so you can go to the website and it'll download, right? We are huge believers in standardized testing. And lots of parents don't like standardized testing. Yep. When they come to alpha, they actually love it because they don't believe me that the kids are learning in 2 hours. And so all these parents who are like, no, I don't like standardized testing. I'm like, great, just trust me. Don't worry, they're learning. They're like, no, okay, wait. And then until they get the standardized test back that shows their kids crushing it, they are very skeptical.
Yeah, I saw a tweet from you on it. And the tweet was, 3 girls in my alpha high group were described by their parents as not math science girls. This happened to me too. They've been focused on other pursuits, launching a Broadway musical, competing for Miss Teen USA, building millions of TikTok followers, and became nationally recognized as a teen dating expert. But their math SAT scores, 790, 790, 790, which is wild.
People read that and say that's crazy. In our school, that's normal, which is, there's a meme in the world, and in our middle school, a lot of girls come in And they're like, I'm not math science. It's a TikTok meme out there. And so they all say it. And one of the exercises we make them do is we're like, oh, really? Well, go find the learning science paper that's been written, because there's 10,000 of them written, that shows that middle school girls can't learn math science, right? And there's obviously none. They all can. And so that's where you get into the motivational part. A lot of what you're trying to do with kids, right, when you're raising them, is what are the limits they have in their head, right? What do they think they can't do? And how do I break through those, right? And that is the part, like, because that is what our guides do, right? We have guides and coaches whose entire job is to sit there and say, instill a growth mindset. Kids, you can do anything. And how do I motivate you to put in the effort to show yourself to do it, right? And so if you want the most controversial thing we do about paying kids and all these kind of things, so we will take any middle schooler, girls or boys, and we will pay them $1,000 if they get to top 1%. Because lots of kids come in and say, I'm not top 1%. Right? I can't do that. Only GT kids can do that. Everybody else, I couldn't be a 790 SAT. And we're like, well, $1,000. And we show them, because of how these AI tutor works, it's not about IQ. It's literally about effort.
Wow.
And we show them, if with this tutor put in the right way in the system, they all can do it. And it literally will calculate for them. It's this many hours of time for you to get to top 1%. They're just like, okay, well, that's many hours. Okay, I'm willing to put in the work. And then when they hit 1%, it changes how they see themselves. A lot of what you're trying to do when you're breaking through these blocks is they're like, I'm this kind of person. I'm not a math science girl. And you're like, no, that's just not a true statement. And then when they get top 1% in science, they're like, oh, I guess I am. And then once kids, you have to pay the $1,000 once to sort of get the breakthrough. But once they hit it, none of those girls needed any incentive to stay. That's actually not true. There's one of them needed some more incentive to get to 790, and we'll talk about that. But they didn't need any incentive to get to 790, right? Because they saw themselves as, oh, I am a top 1% math science girl now, even though I'm still trying out for Miss Teen USA and all of those. The Broadway musical is another one, because we can talk about that. Another controversial part is, for her, she is trying to first all-teen produced Broadway musical, right? She sourced all the singers off TikTok, right? They had 1 million streams like the first weekend. She needed to go to New York to meet a producer, right? I think she's run 3 or 4 shows off Broadway already, but she needed to get to that producer meeting. And I was like, well, and she wasn't at 790 math. And I was like, you can totally do it. And there was an incentive, and it would pay for her to fly up to New York to meet the producer. And she's like, okay, I'll go do that work, right? And then fly up and get it done. And so we will, back to earning. You're like, maybe you didn't want to do it and it was a little extra work to get to that 790, but you earned money that then you could spend on your passion project, right? That you could do. And when parents hear that story, okay, do you want to have a framework, right, to earn and save and spend? If your kid's earning money on some of the academics, that's breaking through some of, their inherent limitations, and it's being spent on learning how to invest or investing in their business or passion project they're doing. Generally, parents are like, okay, that's really a great idea. Like, I heard the headline of Alpha and I was like, this is stupid and I don't like it. And then sort of when they dive down, they're like, okay, wow, that's great. I wish my kid would go through that.